And I start watching it and I'm like, oh my God, this dynamic between Sonny and Tawny, I recognize this. This is like what I was playing out as an adult, and I was in a friendship like this. People pleaser down. Like, if I can just be nice enough, this girl will have to be my friend and she'll have to like me and she'll have to be nice to me. Watching this back now with my adult eyes, I was like, girl, what the hell are you apologizing for? Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Dean's Library, where everything is that deep. I'm your host, Ange, and here I do deep analysis on all types of media, from movies to TV shows to books. And today I want to talk about the Disney Channel. I'm on y'all ass. Just kidding. We love Disney, but I want to talk about how some of these shows we grew up on gave us bad examples and low-key set us up for toxic friendships, toxic female friendships specifically. And so there's a couple examples, right? There's London and Maddie, who low-key were always, not even low-key, were always throwing jabs at each other. And then there's also London and Bailey on Two Life on Deck, which was like a little different dynamic because I feel like London and Maddie were kind of equally matched in the ways that they disrespected each other. But London really bullied Bailey. But the case study that I'm really going to be diving into today is, let me see if you can guess from the theme song. Off to the races, I'm going places, might be a long shot, not gonna waste it. This is the big break. So far, so great. Sonny With A Chance. We're going to be taking a deep dive into Sonny and Tawny's friendship, frenemyship, and just talking about how it kind of set up poor expectations for what we should expect in friendship as we grow up. And I have been going through, oh my gosh, if you guys know my journey, I've been going through a lot of healing. I've been going through a lot of relational healing. I've been going through a lot of, just reevaluating what my standards have been in relationships and what my standards have been as far as my own self-respect and self-love, and so much reflection. And through that process, I had to kind of wake up to realize that some of my friendships with other women were actually unhealthy, and I was playing out some dynamics that were unhealthy. And interestingly enough, during my, kind of isolation period where I've just been really working on myself, I've been also doing some inner child healing. And that led me to kind of go back and watch some of the stuff that made me feel good as a kid. And Sonny With A Chance was one of those shows that I really liked. And interesting thing is, like, I really identified with Sonny. I remember that as a kid, and I liked, also the enemies to lovers thing with Chad Dylan Cooper. And so I was like, let me go watch it. And I start watching it and I'm like, oh my God, this dynamic between Sonny and Tawny, I recognize this. This is like what I was playing out as an adult, and I was in a friendship like this. And I wonder, how much subconsciously that affected me. Obviously, like, I know it has more to do with the way I was brought up and the relationships that I had as a kid and the way I was treated, as a child. But the way I responded to it, I'm sure, was somewhat influenced by these shows that I watched. So today I'm going to get into the nitty gritty of Sonny and Tawny. We're going to watch some clips because I think that will be fun. I'm going to put the clips, I'll either put myself right here and put the clips up here, or I'll put the clips up here and then put myself right here. But either way, we're going to watch some clips and we're going to really get into this friendship and tell you why you probably should not stay friends with somebody if your dynamic is like this. And if you're going through any type of friendship struggle or kind of confusion as to I don't know if this person has my best interest at heart in real life, feel free to watch my video, 10 signs your girlfriend actually hates you, because I really break down a lot of the subtle signs that you'll find that your relationship or your friendship is toxic, because while this is a TV show, obviously, so a lot of the signs are quite obvious. Like, the subtext is really in your face. In real life, they're a lot more subtle. So that's a good one to watch if you are, kind of trying to sort out in real life. And if you watch this video and you feel like, oh, you recognize yourself in Sonny or Tawny, That's always a point of reflection. And at the end of the day, I think that's what media is supposed to be for. Like, I think media can be such a powerful tool of healing when we see ourselves in characters and we rewrite our own scripts, because we are all the main characters of our own lives and we have the power to rewrite our own script at any time. So let's get into it. Okay. So we're going to start at the beginning, because this dynamic was established from episode 1. We see that Tawny is very jealous and very threatened by Sonny's arrival, but she's trying to play it off like she doesn't even know the girl. So let's watch a clip.
I'm Sonny. Why am I being touched? Sorry, I'm a hugger.
Small world, so am I. Good, I see you've met everyone.
Yes, and I just wanted to say it is such an honor being here working with you guys. Marshall, what does she mean working with us?
Well, she's our newest cast member, Tawn. You remember we said goodbye to Mandy on our last show?
I remembered the goodbye. I just didn't think there was gonna be a hello.
What are you talking about?
He showed us her website.
Yeah, and we all got her photo, remember? Don't need another girl. I'm the funny girl and the pretty one. Nope, don't remember. But welcome aboard.
That's the attitude, Tawn. You two are going to be fast friends. Hey, as a matter of fact, you could give Sonny the tour.
I would love that. Let's go, somebody. It's Sonny. My first day in Hollywood and I've already got a nickname.
Okay, so very quickly we see the dynamic, right? Tawny has already been jealous of Sonny and threatened by her before she even walks into the room, whereas Sonny comes in with this very genuine enthusiasm to meet her. She's not afraid to tell her that she's inspired by her, right? But in Tawny's mind, they're already in competition. And the interesting thing about this type of mean girl is that she still wants to be perceived as nice, which I think can be the thing when it comes to female friendship sometimes, where as women, as girls, we kind of still want to be perceived as nice, even when you're doing something mean, right? And so a way to do that, which is what Tawny does, is to feign ignorance. So she pretends like she doesn't know who Sonny is. She pretends like she didn't even know that she was coming. Whole time she had this girl's picture on the wall and was throwing darts at it. Like, that's hatred energy. But she pretends like she doesn't know that Sonny was going to arrive. And then later we see her pretend like she didn't know that Sonny was supposed to have half of the room and things like that. And so we are established Tawny does not like this girl. She had already decided that she was going to be antagonistic towards her since before she even arrived. And so let's get into that scene where they talk about the dressing room, and you can see Sonny's people-pleasing characteristics start to be displayed.
Let's see how you're settling in. Why is there gym equipment on Sonny's side of the room?
This is my side of the room? This is her side of the room?
Don't you remember? I was very clear when Mandy left that Sonny would get this side of the room.
Nope, doesn't ring a bell.
All right, well, we'll get all this equipment back to the studio gym and let's give Sonny some space. I can feel the chemistry already.
No, it's okay. I can make this work. I'm a make-do kind of person, so watch me make do. I'll put my jacket right here, and I'll just chillax right here. My make-do isn't really working, is it? No. You want to talk about it?
People pleaser down. Like, this girl is already testing your boundaries, pushing your boundaries, taking away space that's supposed to be yours. And Sonny's response, because she so badly wants to be liked and to be accepted, is to shrink herself and say she's gonna make do with the gym equipment on her side of the room. So she can't even have anywhere to sit down. But that's her personality and her fawn response, which we'll talk more about fawn response later, but that is her response to this discomfort, is to try to make herself as likable as possible. And it's, you know, it's maybe possible that Sonny's not used to people liking her, so this is really throwing her for a loop. So she's thinking, if I can just be nice enough, this girl will have to be my friend and she'll have to like me and she'll have to be nice to me. But what this does is actually it emboldens Tawny to be even crueler to her, as we see as the scene goes on.
Comfortable, Rumi? Less so by the minute. Let's think of the studio as a school. I'm the head cheerleader, and you're the new kid. And you're all gung-ho and wanting to join the squad. You've got all these great ideas, and you're full of enthusiasm. Yeah, that's right, I am. Well, knock it off. You're not wanted on the squad. But I'm already on the squad. Yes, but we don't need you on the squad. Do we, Putty Two Shoes? Putty Two Shoes? And we certainly don't want to hear your cheers. Not your sis, or your boom, or your ba. But if I have a really awesome ba? I don't care if it's the greatest ba since Sheep Independence Day. So stay on your side, don't touch my stuff, and keep out of my spotlight. Okay then, let's go rehearse.
So this is a very classic narcissist people pleaser dynamic, or narcissist empath dynamic. You could also say that, because I do think Sonny's character has so much empathy, as we will see further down the line. I don't like to use the word empath because I feel like empathy is not an identity in itself, but like Sonny definitely has a lot of empathy and she feels a lot of other people's emotions, but what I would call this is self-betrayal, and I think that's more to the point of what is actually happening, and it points to the problem that needs to be solved, because I think that like identifying as an empath and using that as an excuse to self-sacrifice is actually detrimental to the self. But I think Sonny has a lot of self-betrayal. Like, she's already betraying her space. She's already betraying her dignity, even in the way that this is brilliant TV, by the way, because the way that they shot this scene and the stage direction for Sonny to literally have to kneel and Tawny talking down to her, power dynamic, set, literally clip that frame, says everything about their relationship from that moment. And Tawny is just taking her niceness as more leverage to continue to be mean to Sonny. And Sonny is continuing to do more to try to get in her good graces. After this, they have a rehearsal and Tawny has an idea. It's not that great. Sonny has an idea that everybody loves. And now Tawny's offended, right? Sonny didn't do anything to her. All she did was her job, which is to give ideas and give good ideas. But Tawny's even more threatened now because this girl, Sonny, is showing her skills. She's showing herself to be valuable, and she's being well received and well liked by the others. So Tawny's even icing Sonny out even more, and Sonny goes to her mom to try to get some advice. Her mom tells her just to talk to Tawny, which Sonny somehow interprets as apologizing to the girl, because that's probably the type of relational skills her mom is teaching her, is how to apologize. I don't think her mom was teaching her how to stand up for herself, which is something I would have liked to see. Like, if I was to rewrite this, I would have Sonny set boundaries with Tawny and be like, listen, you're not going to punk me. You're not going to mess me around. This is what it is. I'm a nice girl. Word to Amaya Papaya from Love Island. I'm a sweet girl, but I'm not stupid. You know, that's what I would have liked to see. Because I just feel like this is setting a bad example. And I've seen myself in this dynamic, right? Obviously, I wasn't aware of it, of like someone is being unkind towards me and I was being nice to them. I was overextending myself to them. And all it did in real life, all it does is make people feel more entitled to your energy and feel like they have more leeway to step on you and to take advantage of you. And so that's what we kind of see happening with their dynamic. So let's watch the apology scene, because to me, I was like, watching this back now with my adult eyes, I was like, girl, what the hell are you apologizing for?
Want me to kick her in her headlights?
No. Look, I'll tell you what you do. You go down there tomorrow and you talk to Tawny.
Get away from me. Look, I'm trying to apologize. I feel really bad about getting off on the wrong foot. And I was thinking maybe we could start fresh. Are you shredding fan mail?
Not mine. Done with Grady. Where's the Nico pile? What's this?
Oh, well, I got you a little something to say I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh, look, it's a fuzzy little friend for Booty Two Shoes. Aww. It's a peace offering.
Aw, a peace offering? Well, now it's a million peace offerings.
Look, you don't have to forgive me, but we still have to do that bee sketch together.
Not gonna happen.
But I just want to be as good as you in my first show as you are in every show. I mean, you have so much to teach me and I have so much to learn.
Flattery won't get you anywhere.
You're the funniest and prettiest one on the show.
My approach to comedy is simple. See when
Now, this is a fawn response personified. Sonny overtakes responsibility for the conflict between them, which is all really just in Tawny's head and her projection, her jealousy. But Sonny decides to take responsibility for Tawny's feelings and overextend herself, even getting her a gift, apologizing for not doing anything, and then saying, oh, you don't have to forgive me. But she didn't do anything wrong. This, seems innocuous enough, but when we're kind of teaching the lesson that's being learned here, especially when you're young, is that nice girls always apologize even when they're not in the wrong because they want to keep the peace. Like nice girls always keep the peace. And I feel like this was so internalized in me because I remember growing up apologizing for shit that like I knew I wasn't wrong in, but I just wanted to make the situation better. And sometimes like I had thought like, where did I learn this from as I've, been doing my inner work? Where did I learn this from? Because in my household, we were not taught to apologize. Like I never heard an apology in my house. So it definitely wasn't from home. But like watching this, I'm like, oh, these are, the influences that I had when I was a kid. And I probably identified with this character and I probably identified with this as being the right way to handle social situations, to handle social rifts and act it out in those scripts. But this doesn't work in real life, right? It barely works in the show because it just enhances the power dynamic. But it's like, this is not a good approach in real life. You need to stand up for yourself. If someone is treating you like this, you need to stand up for yourself. If somebody is being mean to you for no reason, you either remove yourself or you set boundaries. And that is healthy. Your job is not to soothe other people's emotions that have nothing to do with you when you did nothing to bring that out, but be yourself. And in this case, literally, she got this great opportunity and this girl's trying to ruin it for her. And she's over here catering to this person's emotions. And I think the other thing about this show that actually bothers me a lot is that Tawny never has to take accountability because Sonny is taking responsibility for her actions and even stuff that's outside of their relationship, as we'll see later on. Tawny never has to face consequences for her own actions, and she never has to look at herself in the mirror and take responsibility for how she is treating other people. And that's not good for her growth either. And so I just do wish that there had been a moment here where Tawny was held accountable, even if it wasn't by Sonny, by like one of the authority figures. Murphy just be around. He don't really do much. He don't really get involved. He's just there to make sure the kids act well. But it would have been nice to see somebody step in where somebody tells Sonny like, buck up, So that's episode 1. The enemy to frenemy thing is starting. Sonny does the fawn response and, over compliments Tawny to try to get her to her good graces. And it works for a little bit, but Tawny's ego is still bruised. Next example, I want to talk about episode 7, where we start to see that both characters are actually a lot more self-aware than the pilot let on about what their subconscious patterns are. In this episode is an article that comes out and it's like a who wore it best and it's comparing the two of them, and the reporter says that Sonny wore it best and Tawny is just like so distraught, so upset. She starts wearing a bald cap because she's so dramatic. She's like, if I don't have the best hair, then I might as well not have any hair at all. And Sonny comes to her rescue. Sonny comes to play nurse to Tawny's emotions. Because Tawny's ego is so bruised, and we start to see her false confidence falter. Because like I said, she's a pretty classic, grandiose, narcissistic personality, in where like she has all this bravado and all this emphasis on her appearance, but she's really insecure inside because this confidence is false, right? This scene was crazy to me. I was like, whoa. Whoa. But it's real life. Like, it's real life. This how stuff be in real life sometimes.
Image is all I have. You have wholesomeness and fresh facedness, so you don't need style, which is good because you don't have any.
Aw, you're making fun of me to make yourself feel better. See, there's the Tawny I know and occasionally get along with.
Yeah, I guess hurting you did make me feel a little bit better.
There you go. Take another shot. Look, my shirt is so last year-ish.
Actually, it was never in.
Oh, snap, you got me good. Now make fun of my pants.
Your pants are really cute.
Wow. A compliment. This is worse than I thought. I'll be back in a little while.
Yeah, just go. Turn off the light and leave me alone with my bald head.
Here we see that Sonny actually recognizes how insecure Tawny is, and she offers herself as basically a sacrifice for Tawny's ego, because Sonny sees herself like she has a little bit of a savior complex, but she also has really high self-esteem. Here we see the difference between self-esteem and self-love, which is something I have really been reflecting on, because to love yourself, there's two parts of love, and it's esteem and respect. And I will do a whole video on this later on because I think it's so important. But here I'll just say that love is twofold, and that's esteem and respect. And esteem is how much you like yourself, right? How much you enjoy your own company, how much you enjoy your sense of humor, you enjoy your inner world. And also what you look like, but really about how you feel about the person that you are. And then respect is your standards for how other people treat you, right? So you can have high self-esteem and you can have low self-respect, because you can like yourself a lot, but still be in that over-functioning mentality where you allow people to treat you any type of way because you're trying to understand them. You're over-empathetic. My therapist told me this in 2023, and I never forgot that I was over-understanding, that I was over-empathetic. And I was so confused by that, but she got it, right? Because instead of saying, hey, that's not okay, I would try to understand where the other person was coming from, why they treated me that way. And that put me in a position to continue to excuse that behavior. And that's what we see Sonny doing. And so when you have self-respect, you have, this is the standard for how I'm going to be addressed. And anything below that is not going to fly. And anything that's below that, you either set boundaries or you cut that person out of your life. And so what Sonny has a lot of, which is precious, right? It's such a beautiful thing to have self-esteem, but you need to have self-respect with it as well. Otherwise, you are going to get taken advantage of or just end up in relationships that don't serve you. Here you can see with Sonny giving Tawny permission to put her down, to bring herself up, you can kind of tell that Sonny doesn't feel like she needs external validation, right? And she doesn't feel that these jobs are going to hurt her because she likes herself so much. But at the end of the day, it's it is important how you let people speak to you, especially people who you're going to be around for a long time. Because when you're constantly hearing negativity about yourself, it does affect your subconscious. And maybe even if you're not internalizing what they're saying, you're internalizing, I deserve to be treated this way. And that is not a good thing at all for your spirit. It's not a good thing at all. It does affect you. Now, this is a very overt self-betrayal, a very obvious, very literal interpretation of self-betrayal. But it can also look like when you have good news, for example, and you have a friend who's just must be nice, or you think you're better than me, and they make those subtle jabs to downplay your moments and you don't say anything, that is also self-betrayal. And so here it's obviously her offering herself to be insulted. But if you notice that, somebody is putting you down or trying to kind of, Nigerians will say, throw sand in your gari, or they're trying to rain on your parade when you have good news. That is also like what that can look like. And so, yeah, I'm trying to think of how I would rewrite it. I think that if Sonny had just been real, because here we can see Sonny understands the inner workings of Tawny's mind, right? She understands, you're insecure. You put me down to make yourself feel better. And she becomes an enabler because she's like accepting this process and even becoming part of this process of Tawny's devaluation of others to make herself feel better. Whereas she could have been a catalyst for her growth by being like, hey, you need to fill up from within, right? Like this person, which she did try, to be fair. She did try to like bring her up. But at the end of the day, Sonny, once that wasn't working, should have just stepped away. It would have been okay if she just stepped away, because that's not her responsibility at the end of the day. Tawny's self-esteem is not her responsibility, and it surely is not the hill to die on, and it's surely not a cause worthy for Sonny to sacrifice her own self-respect. So yeah, this is not a friendship. It's not a healthy friendship at all. We also see in this episode that Sonny, not only is she very emotionally intelligent and aware of like Tawny's world, she has a strong sense of social justice. She just does not have a strong sense of self-justice. And so let's watch this scene where she confronts this reporter about what she's been saying about Tawny.
Okay, yes, it's Tawny, but she's lying on the couch crying her eyes out, and she's even wearing a bald cap.
I did that to Tawny Hart. Can I get a what?
What? No. Sharona, I'm trying to tell you that some of the things that you write about people on the internet can really hurt them. You know, they're real people with real feelings too. They're not just names and faces on TV and in magazines. And you should really think about that the next time you blog.
Okay, so this is so interesting because Sonny gives this big speech about how this reporter should be careful about what she says because it can really hurt people, and these are real people with real feelings. And it's so interesting that she can say all of this about what the reporter was saying about Tawny, but she can't apply that logic to how Tawny treats her and the things that Tawny says to her and about her on a daily basis. And this is evidence of a lack of self-compassion. So she has a lot of compassion, a lot of capacity for compassion, a lot of empathy outwardly, but she doesn't have a lot of self-compassion because maybe she doesn't see herself as somebody who needs protection because she has all of this self-esteem. And sometimes high self-esteem and low self-respect can function like that. You think because, oh, I like myself so much, I don't need anyone else to fill me up. And while that's a beautiful thing to be able to recharge yourself, you also need the respect to understand that your environment needs to reflect your worth. Your environment needs to be, either neutral, which can just be isolation, or it needs to be helping you. It needs to be building you up, right? You don't want a negative environment. It needs to either be positively lifting you up or neutral, and then you continue to recharge yourself. But when you are a charge, negativity is always going to detract from you and bring your vibration down. And I don't necessarily love to use the word vibration because it can be like a buzzword, but literally your energy, like how bright your light is, it really can bring you down. And, that's the goal of these type of people, like these kind of narcissistic energy vampire people, is that they want to make you shrink yourself, want to make you small. And one of the ways to do that is becoming kind of a footstool for another person's emotions. And you don't need to do that. That's not a healthy relationship of any kind. The question I always used to ask myself, and I still do, and I think it's, part of my sunniness of over understanding, but also like a genuine interest in psychology, which makes sense why I'm on this channel doing media analysis, psychoanalyzing fictional characters, is wondering, why do people act like that? Why do you do that? And so let's talk about why both of the characters do that. And that is the mother wound. And I feel like that's probably something that's going to be appearing a lot of times on my channel because, yeah, the psychologists are right. Your therapist is right. It usually all goes back to your parents. And with women and how we relate to each other, or with girls and how they relate to each other, a lot of it is going to have to do with your mother. So let's talk about Tawny's mama, Tammy Hart. We meet Tawny's mother in episode 18, and we're introduced to them, and they look exactly alike. They act exactly alike. They even have the same mannerisms. They use the same lipstick, and it's honestly really funny. One thing I will say about this show, the acting is so good. Everybody acted down. And let me know if you want me to make a video on like any of the other relationships in this show. I mean, if I did, it probably would be between Sonny and Chad because like ship of life. But yeah, everybody, the comedic acting is fantastic on this show. Let's watch Tawny and her mom.
I knew you would. I saw it in the store and it just shrieked, buy me. And then when it didn't fit me, I knew it'd be perfect for you.
Wow, when my one gets me a t-shirt, it's always something stupid on it, like a cow saying, I'm utterly ridiculous.
Do you see the things I protect you from?
Oh, Mommy, you're the best. Mwah, mwah. Lips.
Reapply.
Where's my Coco Moco Coco?
Where's my Coco Moco Coco? Coco Moco Coco. 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 I got you. You are a regular lip saver. Thank you. Reapply.
Reapply.
You guys are Coco Moco Loco.
Wow.
So like you can see that Tawny's basically a copy of her mother and everything starts to make sense. And it's interesting because their relationship is so enmeshed, which is why their identities down to their appearances are so similar. But they seem to be very close, but you notice that the things that bond them are very superficial. Their clothes, their hair, their lipstick, you know, and they have these catchphrases, but that's what connects them is very ego-centered things, like very much on the surface, very much having to do with their beauty and their image. And that gives us a clue as to why Tawny's personality is so ego heavy, right? Because there's not a lot of soul nourishment coming from home because her mother's priority is making sure that her daughter looks perfect, not necessarily that her daughter feels perfect, right? And this kind of ego soul interaction and where your identity lies, I think I'm going to make a video about this as well because I have this whole diagram and like, I think a lot about this type of stuff, guys. I have this whole diagram of just like essentially where one's identity lies, ego and between, you know, the soul and the ego. And the further you get to this perimeter of the ego, the further your identity is in that perimeter, which is that ego, the more fragile it is and the more easily threatened and the more antisocial behaviors that you adopt. And like, that's what highly narcissistic personalities are. Like, you have a lot of antisocial behaviors because there is such low trust. Because you're wearing a mask, right? Your identity is in your mask, like Tawny and her mother. Their identities are in their masks and not within. Whereas Sonny's mother, she really affirms Sonny's gifts. She affirms her intellect. She affirms her humor, which is another form of her intellect. She tells her that she's proud of her and who she is, and she gives her space to be herself and not have to do all of this performance, right? So we're introduced to Tawny's mother, and later we find out that her mother is actually her manager, and her mother kind of makes her do these sketches that are a little bit degrading. There's a dumb blonde sketch, and Sonny encourages Tawny to stand up to her mother. So let's watch that.
What? Maybe you should call her and tell her to. You're right. Yeah. Hi, yes, this is Tawny. I'm not doing the dumb blind frozen dinner sketch. See, doesn't that feel good? Feels great. She said I have to do it. No, you don't. Remember, she works for you. Well, I have just been reminded that you work for me. What do you think of that?
She didn't like that.
Too bad. You did, so keep going.
Well, if you can't listen to me and respect my wishes, then you are... What's that word?
Fired.
Fired. Yeah, that's right. Wow. I was thinking mistaken, but fired really rolled off the tongue, huh? You were amazing, Tawny.
I was, wasn't I? I'm nobody's dumb blonde.
Boy, I wish I could have seen your manager's face when you told her that she was fired.
I'm fired?
There's the face. No, that's the face of your mom. Oh my gosh, your mom's your manager.
Was.
My own daughter is firing me. How could you?
It was Sonny's idea.
You're taking career advice from the maid.
You're not the maid. Okay, look, but I do want to clean up this mess. So, listen.
So she fires her mom. It's on Sonny's advice. This is her finally standing up to her mother. And you can see that her mom has a really emotionally manipulative response. She starts crying instead of understanding where her daughter is coming from, instead of just listening to her daughter. And so I always say behind every mean girl is a meaner mama. Behind every manipulative girl is an even more manipulative mom. And if you've had a relationship, a friendship like this, you know for a fact, once they start talking about that mother, everything starts to make sense. Mind you, not saying that having a mean mom means you're going to be mean. A lot of us have mean moms and we decide to be the opposite of that. But yeah, so we start to see where Tawny's wound is. And of course, like everything else, Sonny kind of takes this problem on as her own. Tawny ends up staying with Sonny and her mom and driving them crazy. But they end up kind of devising this communication strategy that ends up working out for Tawny and her mother. So let's take a look at that.
Feels like a year.
I'm coming. Okay.
Here you go. You got your hot cocoa. It's hot the way you like it. Anything else?
Yes, one more thing.
What?
My blanket's crooked, so now my arm got over the cover.
Okay, good. Now you got your hot cocoa, your magazines, your covered arm.
So Sonny's mother kind of encourages her to stand up to Tawny here, but they kind of, you kind of see where Sonny gets it from, that instead of confronting stuff directly, she kind of tries to do like a sneaky or creative way to solve the problem.
Me and my mom avoid getting into the kind of fights that you and your mom got into. It's through communication. Because the family that works out together works it out together. Work it out.
And so they come up with this work it out method to annoy Tawny, but it ends up being the way that she's able to discuss her issues with her mother.
You push me to do the things I don't want to do. Makes me feel like you think I'm stupid. Work it out.
What is that? Oh, that's how we do things here. Come on, Tammy, give it a try. Now, how do you feel about what Tawny just said?
Oh, when Tawny makes decisions for herself, it makes me think she's growing up and she doesn't need me anymore.
Work it out.
And her mother is able to actually hear her out, and they make up, and it looks like their relationship is going to get better because her mother promises to listen to Tawny more in the future. And this is actually where we see Tawny start to soften and the relationship does get better, even though I think it's still shady going on, but it's much, much better. And we actually see later in the season, Tawny stand up for Sonny, which shows growth. So there is growth, right, throughout the season. My issue with this, though, is that it teaches young girls that if you are nice enough and you take on enough emotional labor for someone else, then they will eventually like you and eventually be a good friend to you, which is just not the case in real life. Like here, Sonny and her mother were able to help resolve Tawny and her mother's issues, because at the end of the day, if a girl is interacting with you or a woman is interacting with you and they have very poor relational skills, it probably does have to do with that mother wound, right? But it's not your responsibility to fix someone else's mother wound, nor is it within your control at all, majority of the time. Like that stuff is really deeply rooted. This is a TV show, so obviously they were able to get through their issues quite quickly because we only have, 35 minutes. But in real life, that's not a healthy way to go about things. And so I would, if I was writing this, I would have written in a way where Tawny finally had to be accountable for her own actions, reflected upon herself. I mean, it can be tricky to have like a mother confrontation on screen. So like I would understand if that wasn't included, but I just think that I wish that there was a healthy friendship example on this show, because these two spend the most time together. Like if you watch the show, Tawny is essentially Sonny's best friend, because Zora is the only other girl there, and she's much younger, and so she's kind of like a little sister. But this is like her best friend, and it's a toxic friendship. And noticing that in this show specifically, but elements of it in other shows, it's like, wow, like this was really normalized for this type of unhealthy friendship to be your closest or most intimate friendship, and kind of like instill the idea that when you're close to someone and you're interacting with them often, that it's normal for them to like make jabs and insults towards you, which is just not the case. And so yeah, Disney Channel, y'all need to answer for that. And it makes me wonder, like the shows today, like that my little cousins, for example, are watching, and they're like pre-teens, and some of them are like teenagers now, which is crazy. Like what they're watching and how that's affecting how they're being socialized. So if you guys have any other recommendations for things for me to watch, I will say I find it very hard to watch the kiddie stuff nowadays, because I'm just like, what are you talking about? Obviously, because I'm not that age, and this I can still watch because of nostalgia and everything, and I remember watching it as a child. But if that is something that you guys would be interested in seeing me analyze, please let me know. And if you want to see any more Disney Nick shows from like our time, my time growing up, I'm 27, by the way. I'm very grown. Let me know. But yeah, until next time on the Dean's Library. And bye, guys.